She texted from the airport. Surprise. I booked us a couple's retreat in Tulum. $6,000 on your card. I never agreed to go. I replied, have a great trip. Then I canceled the card, reported it as unauthorized, and changed my locks. When she landed and her return ticket was canceled too. I, 32 male, am a dental lab technician. I make crowns, bridges, implants, the stuff your dentist sends out to a lab when they need custom work. I'm good at it. I make about $62,000 a year, which in my area is comfortable but not luxurious. I drive a Corolla with 114,000 miles. My apartment is a one-bedroom with a dishwasher that works about 60% of the time. I shop at Aldi. I'm telling you this because the financial context matters. $6,000 is not pocket change for me. It's about 6 weeks of take-home pay. My girlfriend works as a leasing agent for a property management company. She makes around $48,000 base plus bonuses when she closes leases. She's sociable, knows how to sell a lifestyle, and honestly, she kind of sold me a lifestyle when we first started dating. She had this energy like everything was an experience waiting to happen. Dinners were adventures. Weekend errands were quality time. She made ordinary things feel curated, which was exciting until I realized that curated usually meant expensive. We'd been together about 18 months. She had a key to my apartment. She did not have authorized access to my credit card. This is the crux of everything. About 5 months into dating, she needed to pick up a prescription for me when I was sick, some antibiotics, nothing major. I gave her my card info over the phone. She picked up the prescription. The total was like $14. I told her to delete the card info after. She said she did. She did not. Over the following year, I noticed occasional small charges on my card that I didn't immediately recognize. A $12 charge here, a $28 charge there. Stuff that looked like it could be auto renewals or subscription services I'd forgotten about. I'm not great about checking my statements line by line. I usually just glance at the total and move on if it looks roughly right. Not my proudest financial habit, but I'm being honest. In hindsight, she'd been making small purchases on my card for months. Testing the waters. A $15 Uber ride. A $22 DoorDash order. A $45 Sephora purchase. Nothing big enough to trigger a fraud alert. Nothing big enough to make me look twice at a statement. She was basically grazing on my credit card like it was a buffet, taking small enough portions that nobody noticed. I found all this out after the main event. At the time, I was oblivious. The main event. It was a Thursday morning. I was at the lab, working on a set of veneers for a case that was due Friday. My phone buzzed. Text from her. Surprise, babe. Party popper airplane, so I did something crazy. I booked us a couple's retreat in Tulum. We leave tomorrow. I'm already at the airport getting things sorted. It's this amazing beachfront wellness resort. 5 nights, all-inclusive. It was $6,000, but honestly, it's an investment in us. Use your visa, so we're all set. Pack your bags tonight. You deserve this. I read it 3 times. I put down my handpiece. I took off my magnifying loupes. I stared at the wall for about 30 seconds while my brain tried to process the sheer audacity of what I just read. She booked a $6,000 trip on my credit card, without asking me, without discussing it, without even mentioning it before she was literally at the airport. She'd apparently taken the day off work, packed her bags, driven to the airport, and texted me as a fait accompli, like the $6,000 charge on my card was just a fun detail in her surprise. I want to point out what was also insane about the logistics. She booked a flight for herself leaving tomorrow and somehow expected me to get time off work with less than 24 hours notice, pack, get to the airport, and fly to Mexico. I had a veneer case due Friday. I had 3 other cases in progress. I can't just not show up to a dental lab because my girlfriend decided we're going to Tulum. But honestly, the logistics were secondary. The primary issue was that she stole $6,000 from me and framed it as a gift. I typed and deleted about 4 responses. Then I settled on, have a great trip. She replied, wait, are you not coming? I didn't respond. I went back to my veneers. I finished the case. Then, during my lunch break, I made the calls. First, my credit card company. I reported the $6,000 charge as unauthorized. Because it was unauthorized. I never gave her permission to use my card. I never gave her permission to save my card information. The $14 prescription a year ago was a one-time authorization that she'd exploited. The agent asked me if I knew who made the charge. I said yes. He asked if it was a domestic partner. I said girlfriend, not spouse, not authorized user. He flagged the charge for investigation, issued a provisional credit, and canceled the card. A new one would arrive in 7 to 10 business days. When the card was canceled, everything attached to it got canceled too. The resort booking, the flights, including the return flight. I didn't think about the return flight at the time. That wasn't strategic. It was just a byproduct of the card cancellation. But I'd be lying if I said I felt bad about it when I realized it later. Second call, a locksmith. He came that evening and rekeyed my apartment door. Cost me $185. She had a key to my old locks. She no longer had a key to anything. Third action, I went through my credit card statements for the past year. Every single one. It took about 2 hours that evening, sitting at my kitchen table with a highlighter and a printout. I found $840 in charges I couldn't account for, spread over 13 months. Small amounts, frequent intervals. A pattern that was invisible in isolation but obvious in aggregate. $840 plus $6,000. That's $6,840 she charged to my card without authorization. I documented everything. Dates, amounts, merchant names. Saved it all in a folder. Then I went to bed. She hadn't texted again since the wait. Are you not coming? Message. I assumed she was either on a plane or figuring out that the booking was canceled. Either way, it was her problem now. Update 1, 4 days later. I need to explain what happened when she landed, because this is where the story goes from bad decision to full circus. She flew out Friday morning. I know this because she posted an Instagram story from the plane, window seat, clouds, a book she definitely wasn't reading, caption manifesting sparkles. She'd apparently bought her ticket separately from the resort package, or at least some portion of the booking process before the card was canceled. I'm still not 100% clear on the financial mechanics of what went through and what didn't. What I do know is that she got to the resort, and the resort had no reservation. The cancellation had processed. The provisional credit meant the resort never got paid. She showed up at the front desk of a beachfront wellness retreat in Tulum with her suitcase and her manifesting energy, and they had nothing under her name or mine. I know this because she called me. Friday afternoon. I was at work. I picked up because I figured this conversation was coming. The background noise was chaotic, wind, people talking, what sounded like a lobby. Her voice was shaking. The reservation is gone. They said the card was declined and the booking was canceled. What did you do? I reported the charge as unauthorized. Because it was. You what? You. I'm in Mexico right now. I'm standing in a hotel lobby in Mexico with no room. You booked a $6,000 trip on my card without asking me. What did you think was going to happen? I thought you'd be here. I thought you'd appreciate the surprise. A surprise is flowers. A surprise is concert tickets. $6,000 on someone else's credit card without permission is fraud. Fraud? You're calling what I did fraud? I'm your girlfriend. You were. That landed. I heard her breath catch. Then the anger came. You are not breaking up with me while I'm stranded in another country. You're not stranded. You have your own bank account and your own credit card. Book a flight home. I can't afford a last-minute flight from Mexico. Those cost like $800. Sounds like you should have thought about that before you spent $6,000 of someone else's money. She hung up. 12 minutes later, she called back, crying, full sobbing. She said she only had about $400 in her checking account. Her own credit card had a $1,500 limit, and she was already carrying a balance. She literally could not afford to get home. I want to pause here because this is where the comments are going to split. Some of you are going to say, I should have helped her get home. She was in a foreign country, alone, with limited funds. That's a vulnerable situation regardless of how she got there. Here's what I thought about. She put herself on that plane. She used my money to get there. She never asked me. She never discussed it. She treated my credit card like a personal slush fund for over a year. And when confronted, her first instinct wasn't, I'm sorry. It was, you're calling this fraud? She still didn't think she'd done anything wrong. She thought the problem was my reaction. not her action. I said, call your mom. Call your sister. Call someone. I'm not your emergency fund. I hung up, blocked her number, went back to work. What happened next? I pieced together over the following days through mutual friends and her sister, who eventually contacted me. She called her mom from the resort lobby. Her mom wired her $600 through Western Union, which combined with what she had, was enough for a one-way ticket home the next day through a budget carrier with a connection. She spent one night at a hostel near the airport for $35. She flew home Saturday, arrived late Saturday night. Sunday morning, she came to my apartment. Tried her key. It didn't work. She knocked. She knocked harder. She rang the doorbell. She said through the door, I know you changed the locks. This is insane. Let me iron. Half my stuff is in there. I opened the door. She looked rough, travel exhausted, sunburned from apparently spending her one afternoon in Mexico, sitting outside the resort she couldn't enter, mascara from 2 days ago still faintly visible. She pushed past me into the apartment. Immediately started talking. We need to talk about this like adults. You completely overreacted. I was trying to do something nice, and you turned it into a nightmare. I was stranded. I had to sleep in a hostel. Do you know how scary that was? I said, do you know how scary it is to see a $6,000 charge on your credit card that you didn't authorize? Oh my God, stop saying authorize like I'm a stranger. I'm your girlfriend. We've been together a year and a half. Couples share finances. We don't share finances. We've never shared finances. You memorized my card number from one transaction over a year ago and have been using it without my knowledge ever since. She stopped. What do you mean, ever since? I pulled out the folder. The highlighted statements. 13 months of charges. $840 in unauthorized purchases. Her face went through several stages as she looked through the pages. She settled on indignation, which was honestly impressive. Those were like small things. Ubers and food. That's not a big deal. It's $840. Over a year. That's like $70 a month. That's nothing. It's $70 a month that you took from me without asking. For 13 months. And then you took $6,000 in one shot. I was going to pay you back for the trip. Eventually. I just wanted to book it before the deal expired. There was no deal discussion. There was no trip discussion. There was a text from the airport. She sat down on my couch and started crying. She said I was destroying us over money. She said I was materialistic. She said she couldn't believe I would report her to the credit card company like a criminal. I said, I reported an unauthorized charge. The credit card company is investigating it. If they determine it's fraud, that's between you and them. That stopped the crying immediately. Wait, investigating? What does that mean? It means they're reviewing the charge and determining if it's fraudulent. Can I get in trouble for that? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. She left, took a few things, a jacket, some toiletries, and said she'd be back for the rest. She looked scared for the first time since any of this started. Not sorry. Scared. There's a difference, and it's an important one. Update 2.5 weeks later. Final update. Buckle up because the last 2 weeks have been a ride. After she left my apartment, things went quiet for about 3 days. Then her sister called me. I picked up because her sister had always been reasonable, and I figured she might be the one sane voice in this family. Wrong. Her sister opened with, you need to drop the credit card investigation. That's not really how it works. The bank investigates, not me. Then call them and tell them it was a misunderstanding. That you gave her permission. I didn't give her permission. She's your girlfriend. She used your card for a trip for both of you. This isn't fraud. This is a relationship disagreement. She used my card without authorization for 13 months. The trip was just the biggest charge. Her sister went quiet, then said, if she gets charged with fraud, that's a criminal record. You do that to someone you loved. She did this to herself. I didn't make her memorize my card number. I didn't make her spend $6,840 without asking. $6,000. Wait, you said $6,840. $6,000 for the trip. $840 in smaller charges over the past year. Another silence. Then her sister, in a noticeably different tone, said, she told us the trip was $4,000 and there were no other charges. That's when I realized my ex hadn't been honest with her own family about the amount. She downplayed it by almost $3,000. Her sister thanked me, somewhat stiffly, for the clarification and hung up. 2 days later, her mom called. Different energy than the sister. Her mom was not calm. "You are ruining my daughter's life over a vacation. She made a mistake. Young people make mistakes. You don't call the police on your girlfriend." I didn't call the police. I reported an unauthorized charge to my bank. Same thing. It's really not. She told me you encourage her to use your card. She said you gave her the number. I gave her the number once, over a year ago, for a $14 prescription. I told her to delete it. She didn't. She then used it for $6,840 in unauthorized purchases. That number sounds made up. I have the statements highlighted. I'm happy to email them to you. She didn't want the statements emailed. She wanted me to be a man and handle this privately. I told her I was handling it through the proper channels with my bank. She called me vindictive and hung up. Now here's the part that turned the whole situation. The credit card company's fraud investigation concluded about a week after I filed. They called me to review their findings. The investigator said they'd confirmed the charges were made without cardholder authorization. The $6,000 resort charge had already been reversed via the provisional credit. Regarding the $840 in smaller charges, they said I had two options. I could accept a full credit for the disputed amount back to my account, which would also mean the case would be flagged and could be referred to their fraud department for potential prosecution. Or I could accept the credit and sign a statement indicating I did not wish to pursue criminal referral. I asked what criminal referral meant practically. He said it meant they'd share the case file with local law enforcement, who would determine if charges were warranted. He said for an amount under $1,000, it would likely be a misdemeanor, but the $6,000 charge could potentially be classified as felony level depending on the jurisdiction. Felony. For booking a couple's retreat. I thought about it for a full day. I'm not exaggerating. I literally took 24 hours. Here's what I weighed. On one hand, she stole from me. Repeatedly. Over 13 months. And then dropped $6,000 in one shot as a grand finale. She never asked. She never apologized. When confronted, she called me materialistic. Her family tried to bully me into dropping it. She lied to them about the amount. On the other hand, a felony fraud charge would destroy her. She'd lose her leasing agent job. Property companies run background checks constantly. She'd have trouble renting an apartment herself. It would follow her for years. I chose the middle ground. I accepted the full credit for all disputed charges, $6,840 total returned to my account, and I signed a statement indicating I did not wish to pursue criminal referral. The bank closed the investigation. She didn't get charged. She didn't get a record. She got a clean exit that she absolutely did not deserve, and she got it because I decided that $6,840 back in my account was enough justice, and I didn't need to follow her through the legal system to feel whole. I do want to be clear about something. The bank still flagged her in their internal system. The investigator told me that her name and information would be noted in connection with a confirmed unauthorized use case. He said this wouldn't show up on a background check or affect her credit, but if she ever applied for a card with that bank or attempted a transaction that triggered their fraud detection, the flag would be there. That felt like enough of a permanent footnote. Her stuff. She came to get it on a Saturday, 2 weeks after the Tulum debacle. She brought her sister and 2 large trash bags, which tells you how much stuff she actually had at my place. It was mostly clothes, some shoes, a hairdryer, a yoga mat she'd never used, and about 15 bath products that took up my entire shower caddy. She didn't speak to me. Her sister did the talking. We're here for her things. I stepped aside, they packed, they left. Took about 20 minutes. Her sister paused at the door and said, she's not going to admit it, but she knows she messed up. I said, okay, and closed the door. That's the last direct interaction. No more calls, no more doorstep visits, no more family members advocating on her behalf. What I know secondhand from the one mutual friend who's still in both our orbits. She told people I financially abused her by canceling the card while she was abroad. She conveniently left out the part where she booked a $6,000 trip on a card she wasn't authorized to use. She lost 2 friends over it. Not because I told them the truth, but because they asked questions and her story didn't add up. The numbers kept changing. First a trip was $4,000, then $5,000, then it doesn't matter how much it was. When people can't keep their own story straight, other people notice. She's still working at the property management company, as far as I know. Still leasing apartments. Still living her life. The bank flag is sitting quietly in a database somewhere, a tiny digital scar that she'll probably never see, but that exists because of what she did. I don't know if that's justice, but it's accurate. And accuracy matters to me. I'm the guy who makes dental crowns to tolerances of 0.1 millimeters. Precision is literally my job. My $6,840 is back. My locks are changed. My new credit card has a PIN verification for any transaction over $100, which I set up because I'm never making this mistake again. My apartment is quieter. My shower caddy has room for my stuff. My Aldi bill went down because I'm only feeding one person now, and it turns out I don't go through $22 of DoorDash every week when left to my own devices. The Corolla has 115,000 miles now. The dishwasher still works 60% of the time. I'm going to fix that this weekend, actually. I watched a YouTube video, and I think it's the inlet valve. Cost of the part, $38. Cost of not having a girlfriend who treats my credit card like a lifestyle subsidy. Priceless. And yeah, I know that's a played-out line, but I'm a dental tech, not a comedian. I make teeth, not jokes. That's it. Thanks for reading. Go check your credit card statements. All of them, line by line. Trust me,